May the Lord deal faithfully with you, just as you have done with the dead and with me. May the Lord provide for you so that you may find security, each woman in the household of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. But they replied to her, "No, instead we will return with you to our people." Naomi replied, "Turn back, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Will there again be sons in my womb, that they would be husbands for you? Turn back, my daughters. Go. I am too old for a husband. If I were to say that I have hope, even if I had a husband tonight, and even more, if I were to bear sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you refrain from having a husband? No, my daughters. This is more bitter for me than for you, since the Lord's will has come out against me." Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth stayed with her. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law is returning to her people and to her gods. Turn back after your sister-in-law." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. Wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me and more so if even death separates me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her about it. The word of the Lord.
Thank God.
You just gonna make enough space on here for all the things. Okay. So there's a married couple from Bethlehem named Naomi and Elimelech. And they leave Bethlehem with their two sons, Malin and Chilion, and go to the land of Moab in order to escape a famine. While they are there, sadly, Elimelech dies, and Naomi becomes a widow. But her two sons marry women from their new home in Moab, named Orpah and Ruth, and together they live there for 10 years. After these 10 years, both of her sons, Malin and Chilion, also die, leaving Naomi as the only surviving member of her family who traveled from Bethlehem so many years ago. So now we have these three widows, Naomi from Bethlehem and Orpah and Ruth from Moab. And they need to decide how they will survive in the midst of their loss and their grief. Naomi's heard that the famine is over in the land of Judah, and so the three of them decide to head together from Moab back to where Naomi is from. But soon after they head out, Naomi changes her mind. And this is where we heard today's scripture. Perhaps it's because she left her own home and her extended family to come to Moab and knows that what this journey will involve. Or perhaps it's because after such a long time away, she's unsure how she will be received by her family of origin. There are many uncertainties in such a major transition, and these can be hard to face. And it can be harder to bring other people into that uncertainty. And so Naomi says to Orpah and Ruth that they should not come with her, but instead they should return home to their mother's households and find new husbands who can provide for them. And she kisses them and they all start crying. Orpah and Ruth don't want to leave Naomi. They want to return with her to her people. But Naomi is insistent. She says she has no more sons in her womb to be their husbands. And even if she gave birth to the new sons right now, they can't wait around for them to grow up, spending all that time without husbands. Can you even imagine? Again, perhaps it is her own experience of a decade of the challenges of widowhood speaking here. Naomi says it will be better for them to return to their people and find security there. And she kisses them again. And once again, all three of them start weeping. Orpah chooses to bid farewell to Naomi and Ruth and turn back towards Moab. And Naomi encourages Ruth to do the same. But Ruth makes a different choice about who and where her people are, where she belongs, and how to show up for them in that moment. And she says, "Don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. Wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever I die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me, and more so, if even death separates me from you." Ruth's expression of her desire to stay with Naomi, her choice for her own present and future, to remain with her mother-in-law and with her mother-in-law's people, is deeply moving and poetic. This is a reading often chosen for weddings, and as Beth can surely attest, even more so lesbian weddings. One woman expressing to another her lifelong devotion, love, and commitment. In other translations, there's also this vague reference to lying together. It's perfect for Christian adjacent lesbian love. And who knows? Maybe Ruth and Naomi were in love with one another in a way that would be familiar to lesbians and other sapphic women today. I think that's a really beautiful way to hear and understand their relationship. But of course, it's not the only way to hear or understand it. And so I want to add to the picture another view on why this love, even if it isn't romantic or sexual, is deeply queer. Marriages like Ruth and Chillian's or Orpah and Mahlon's or Naomi and Elimelech's don't exist in a vacuum where the conditions of life are perfect and everyone's needs are always met. They exist in this uncertain, complicated, messy world, and in the context of a wider web of relationships and interdependence. Connection to land, culture, families of origin, chosen family, friendships, workplaces, God, neighborhoods, wider communities. We as humans need connection to survive and to flourish. This is one of the reasons that we form relationships like marriage and why we gather together with others in families and communities in which to live our lives. An important lesson that being queer has taught me is that ultimately all family is chosen family, and not all of the choices that impact us are ours. When we were born, none of us had the agency to choose who to love, not to mention who would be there to love us. But these decisions made by circumstance and by those around us have a profound effect on us. As we grow up, we develop the ability and autonomy to make our own choices about who to love. But there are forces outside our control that inevitably impact our options. Nevertheless, we do choose how we will love and who we will love. Despite what cultural narratives around kinship and parenthood and the nuclear family might suggest about some loving relationships being automatic or unconditional or unbreakable, many of us have experiences that prove that this isn't the case. Showing up and loving people is always, in part, a conscious and ongoing choice. The families that we are raised in evolve over time and can become chosen family through the care and understanding that is exchanged within these relationships. Communities are made by many weavers. They are webs of support that include siblings and cousins, co-workers, elders, creative partners, dogs, flowers, gardens, housemates, and of course, friends. Just as none of us as individuals exist in isolation, neither do any of these relationships. Ruth and Naomi's relationship exists because of Ruth and Chillian's marriage, but also because of the relationship between Naomi and Elimelech, without which Chillian would not exist at all. Over the years they've been in one another's lives, these relationships have become increasingly shared. Both Ruth and Naomi love and are loved by many of the people that they brought into each other's lives. And their loves and losses and griefs and decisions are interconnected. I want to take a moment to consider the three widows in their decision-making again. There's a lot of focus on Ruth's decision to stay with Naomi as a model for care and commitment and chosen family. It can be tempting to compare and contrast Ruth's decision with Orpah's, particularly in a way that elevates Ruth's as the right thing to do or the better thing to do. But every person is different, and while we are all interconnected, and even while we are all interconnected and all the decisions we make are impacted by those around them, there are many times in life when the best way to love someone else and ourselves can be to leave, to give or take space. Orpah's decision to return to her family of origin in Moab is what Naomi has asked her to do. Orpah is honoring Naomi's request about how she wants to be loved and how Naomi wants to love her by ensuring that she is provided for by a people and family she knows and who knows her. We can't know all the different pieces of relationship that contributed to Orpah's decision, but we do know that it involved loss for her of her daily relationship with Naomi and that she wept for this loss. We can also trust that she made the best decision she could in whatever her circumstances were. Rather than comparing Ruth's decision to Orpah's, we can instead imagine how one perhaps impacted the other. Ruth makes her decision to stay with Naomi after Orpah chose to return home. There are so many ways that Orpah's choice could have made space for Ruth's. Perhaps Ruth knew that Orpah would care for any remaining shared family or friends they had in Moab. Perhaps without Orpah in their daily lives, there was space for a different kind of relationship to blossom between Ruth and Naomi. Perhaps Orpah and Ruth even made their decisions together, collaboratively and not individually, deciding that Ruth was better suited for the journey and the tasks that lay ahead on the road back to Judah with Naomi. It takes care of all kinds, both up close and from far away, to create webs of relationship. And each of us has the task of figuring out where we belong in that web and which decisions to make. This belonging service, as you've heard in the story that Beth told earlier and other people's stories of belonging, while it is a beginning of sorts, it doesn't mark the beginning of belonging at Open Way. People in this church community have been living in loving, supporting partnership with one another for many years now. But this celebration, this ritual, is still an important opportunity for those of us gathered here today. It's an opportunity to celebrate the sense of belonging that many of us have already found here and to name our hope and longings for how we might deepen that belonging to one another and to God together. But what if you're here today as a guest or a visitor, or you're someone for whom belonging to a church community or to this church community doesn't feel like a fit for you right now? Should you leave? I'm probably not going to say that. While you might not be leaving to return home weeping like Orpah did, I believe, it is possible that the best way for you to show love to yourself and to this community is simply through your spoken blessing, or helping others with the weaving process, or supporting your family's participation today, or listening to the sermon, singing with us in worship, or bringing your piece of fabric home and keeping it with you for a while as you consider your connection to Open Way and to others. All of these actions and more contribute to what makes Open Way a place where others want to belong. Because all of our relationships are interdependent. Your love enriches our lives in this world. I want to invite everyone now, again, to look around this gathering at the people who are here and call to mind those who couldn't join us today. The people through whom God has worked and is working to create a community at Open Way. Let this love really soak in so that you can feel it in your bones and call on it in times when things are difficult. Know that these people will do their best, just as you will, to return the gift that your loving has given to each of us. I want to name that every celebration like this also brings with it tension from the wounds and grief each of us carries. It is a considerable privilege to have access to a community of faith where we can feel truly a sense of belonging. Many of us here know that there are real costs to a community and to the individuals in it when that community is also a source or a site of harm or discrimination. I want to take a moment to acknowledge this pain and to give thanks for those who have offered us care and support as we work to heal. This healing is God's work, which we can plainly see in the life and ministry of Jesus. Jesus' love and healing is generous and abundant and transformative. Jesus sought so often to bring back into community those who are excluded and hurt. Our love and care has the very same source as Jesus's. Our lives and our love are sacred and beautiful. They are manifestations of the wonderful diversity that is present in this nuanced and complex universe made by a mysterious and wondrous creator. We are an integral part of the web of relationships that sustains each and every one of us. Love is not a finite resource, but loving and experiencing love and care makes it easier to love more fiercely, deeply, and beyond the limits of our imagination. We know, just as Ruth and Orpah and Naomi did, that the world is an uncertain place. It is constantly in flux. And as well as any of us already know each other, we're all still changing. And this is going to be true throughout our whole lives and the life of this church community. This is what makes building relationship and community inspiring and challenging and ultimately risky. There are still parts of each of us that are yet to be revealed. New things we will bring out in each other as we build this community of faith together. As we face these unpredictable circumstances, God calls us to keep choosing to love in attitude and action, watching for all the ways our companions on this journey continue to change and grow and shine through the seasons we share together at Open Way, and for how God is active in ourselves, in each other, in this community and the world. I wonder what God has in store for us next. Amen.